West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Woo! It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, October 16th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, typically, but Bill's out this week. And I said, let's have some fun. Let's turn it up to 11. The discussions, the debates. Monday, Ted Trimpa joined us. He's the architect of the Blue Wave of Colorado. Tuesday was Deep Singh Badesha, a card-carrying member of the Democrat Socialists of America. Wednesday, Patricia Calhoun. That was like talking to a savant on Denver knowledge. You could throw out anything. What happened here in 1978? And she would lay out all the players. It was crazy. She knew everything. And then, Adam, do you ever see that 60 Minutes where there's like people out there that can just recall any date? So
I have seen people like that.
Yeah,
she was like that.
She was like that, but with just Denver knowledge, which was awesome. Today, Vic Vela, a 5-time Edward R. Murrow Award winner and a journeyman in radio. Good morning, Vic.
Good morning, Jeff. It's quite an intro.
Yeah.
I am not a savant. I have no knowledge, actually. So I'll be the exact opposite of Patty.
You're going to be a lot of fun. I mean, give us your radio journey, man. Because you've done morning drive. You've done CPR.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I was just commenting to Jeff before we went on the air how for almost 10 years I had the exact same hours you did.
10 years?
Yeah.
Bro, I'm like a year and 9 months into this
rough,
thing.
man.
It's early.
It's early, but there's trade-offs. You know, I'll listen to some Dave Brubeck on the drive-in. There's no other traffic. I was in the building all by myself running my own board, and it was so peaceful. Usually newsrooms and radio stations are buzzy, but you're just zen, man. It was beautiful. And then you're done at like 10, and then everyone's like, hey, since you have the rest of the day, let's go do something. And you're like, no, I'm tired, man. I'm tired. You kidding me?
A lot of naps.
Yeah.
It's
a lot
zen,
of
man. It's zen. That's we need to clip that. That's some good audio right there. So give us your background.
Yeah.
You're going to be co-hosting with me today, but where are you from? Where'd you go to school? And then your journey in radio.
Yeah, well, Jeff, we have a lot in common in that we're both Colorado natives. I grew up in Longmont, so speak slowly. And I generations deep Coloradans, right? You know, my mom's side from northern New Mexico, my dad's side from Colorado. Like, we've been there and done that, man. And then I've been in journalism for more than 25 years, starting out in television, going to newspapers, and then ultimately ending up in public radio as a news host and a podcast host. So I'm outside of that arena now, at least outside of mainstream media, more focused on nonprofit work and hosting a podcast. But there's still the journalist inside me, right, that always wants to dig into the issues and to learn more about what's going on in the world. Yeah.
You're part of the unique Hispanic tradition in America that was here before America. Is that right?
Man, if you look at, especially in northern New Mexico, where the Spaniards came up through Mexico into what is now Santa Fe. Right?
Yeah.
Santa Fe is the oldest city in the United States, right? Before it was the United States, of course. It was the Spaniards, and then the Spaniards, met up with the indigenous folks of that time during the 1500s and 1600s.
How you doing?
That that predated the earliest New England colonies, right? Yeah. So if you go, especially into New Mexico, and you meet a lot of Hispanic folks there are folks who they will tell you the roots of where they are standing going back like 100 years, and we're really proud to talk about that. Yeah.
Do you guys celebrate Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day, or is it a little bit of both? It's like if you grew up with Jewish and Christian parents.
I don't think Columbus Day is something that I ever celebrate, or I don't remember, but it's not exactly. It's a banker's holiday, and the guy wasn't very pleasant. Let's just be honest, all right?
Well, Vic Vela is going to be with us all morning. Would love for you to be a part of the conversation, too. Give us a call at 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line, 720-819-5115. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Hey, good Thursday morning, 53 and clear, expecting a high of 71 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, here's what a real reporter sounds like asking a question to a globalist corruptocrat.
Congresswoman Pelosi, are you at all concerned that the new January 6th committee will find you liable for that day? Are you at all concerned about the new January 6th committee finding you liable for that day? Why did you refuse the National Guard on January 6th?
Shut up. I did not refuse the National Guard. The president didn't send it. Why are you coming here with Republican talking points as if you're a serious journalist?
The American people want to know. We still have questions. Thank you.
Yeah. A federal judge in San Francisco, Pelosi's home city, has blocked the DJT administration from laying off federal workers during the shutdown. It's day 16 of the Schumer shutdown. The ruling came after unions challenged the move as illegal. The White House expected to appeal. 47 says he's greenlit the CIA to take action in Venezuela. In confirming the authorization Wednesday, the president was asked by reporters if the CIA had been given the green light to take out Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. He refused to answer. Democrat John Fetterman on stage last night doesn't agree with the nut jobs on the far left. He knows they're ginning up craziness this weekend with the No Kings rallies.
I'm the only Democrat in my family. I grew up in a conservative part of Pennsylvania, and I grew up and I know and I love people that voted for President Trump. But they are not fascists. They're not Nazis. They're not trying to destroy the Constitution and those things. And that's part of another thing. I refuse to call people Nazis or fascists, or I would never compare anybody to Hitler and those things. And now that kinds of extreme rhetoric is going to continue. We're going to be more likely in resulting in extreme kind of outcomes and political violence and doing all these kinds of things like Charlie Kirk.
And you may see it this weekend. Let's pray that doesn't happen. But that's what they want to happen on the far left. A federal judge has extended temporary restraining orders blocking the deployment of National Guard troops to Portland until October 19th. Meanwhile, Governor Jeff Landry says National Guard troops could be deployed to Louisiana this year. It's working in Memphis and D.C., and it'll work there. A strange object seen floating in the Colorado skies recently is a balloon. The National Weather Service says it's a
Balloon Boy's
stratolite.
back.
Yes.
You guys remember Balloon Boy?
Yes,
remember
I
Balloon
remember
Boy?
Balloon
Of course I
Boy.
remember Balloon Boy.
Did you have to like chase the guy down?
No, I was not.
You
Those
weren't
were
one of
some
the
of the
journalists?
entry-level reporters had to do that. Yeah. The senior level hosts were like, "You guys go do it." Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Blake, you remember Balloon Boy?
I remember that story vaguely. Why don't you remind us?
So
I don't even remember.
the guy is building this big balloon in his backyard, right? And the backstory is that he wants a reality television show.
That's right. Okay.
And so he claims that his son has climbed into this balloon and taken off. In reality, he had gone into the attic and was hiding up there.
That's
right. He has this video. Like, so he's got this camcorder and or his wife's filming him or something. So the whole family's in on it, and he's running around going, "Oh no, little Johnny's in the balloon, little Johnny's in the balloon." And he's watched his balloon take off.
Horrible.
And then everybody, you have like news helicopters tracking it. You got reporters on the ground chasing it. And then the police are all chasing it. And then the balloon lands in a field up in northern Colorado. And they look around and there's no boy in it. So then you're like, did he fall out? Where's the body? All that stuff. Meanwhile, the entire time he was hiding in the garage. Or in the attic.
What year was that? Do you remember?
I don't. I'm not Patricia Calhoun.
And he has the wrong guest. I have
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Balloon. 10,009, Adam says.
Balloon Boy.
Yeah, 2009.
Did
I say 10,009?
10,009. That was a long time ago.
Back then.
That was a long time ago.
Well, or that would be in the future.
Hey, since Vic is there, I'm sorry. So really quickly, it was a Stratolite balloon from Tucson. That's the balloon that was flying around there, wondering where it was. They were doing weather stuff with that. Hey, since Vic is there, Vic, I remember meeting you at Pepsi Center with my brother. Is that right?
It's possible, Blake. I mean, I've known you for so long here that I don't even remember.
Okay. I think you were shadowing. You were a young man, a very young man, and you were shadowing my brother.
When I was 17.
And when you were 17, when you were at Pepsi Center, I was working for the Nuggets at that time, or Altitude. Do you remember? Was that you? That was you. We sat down and ate, right?
Man, you know what? It could very well be, because you know what? Back in the 90s, I was interning at KWGN Channel 2 and KOA.
Wow.
And I was doing a lot of Rockies, grabbing the sound after the game kind of thing for the newscast, and some Nugget stuff too.
Okay.
So I think it's very possible, because I just started covering sports the year Pepsi Center opened.
Okay.
98,
yeah,
I think is what it was.
I feel like that's where I met you.
Yeah.
And we grew up about probably 2-3 blocks away from each other in Longmont.
That's our connection. That's what I remember our connection to be.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is. It is crazy. And I'll tell you a secret, because Peter asked me last week. Peter likes to ask
Boyles,
people who their first girlfriend was. My first girlfriend was June Vella.
How are you? Oh my head is by the way, my parents are listening to this, so their heads are going to explode.
All right, the Bellas
right now. June is my sister. I have to talk to her. We should get her on the air is what we should do, and talk about that relationship.
Right. That's absolutely. Well, the Bellas are awesome. I love the Bellas.
Oh, thanks.
And my head is spinning because
amazing.
I'm going, wait a minute. I was thinking about that last week when Peter asked me that. So
what a trip.
Anyway,
June
you're
Vella.
outnumbered, Jeff. You got Longmont guys here.
Were you guys like middle school girlfriends, high school girlfriend?
I was fifth grade, I think.
Fifth grade. So
grade.
that probably no kissing there.
She was by far the most intelligent, attractive girl in Longmont.
Did she break your heart?
Oh, absolutely. She crushed me. It was. I think it lasted 3 or 4 days.
It left a measurable impact.
The relationship.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Well, shout out to Longmont, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Longmont's
I'm
a
glad
great
you're
town.
on the show, and give Jeff hell. He loves it. And,
Yeah.
should be fun.
Guys,
That's amazing.
yesterday, we have the best text messengers. Yesterday was the 16th anniversary of Balloon Boy.
Oh, it was.
Yesterday was?
It was yesterday. Yep.
Okay.
Falcon was the name of the boy.
Falcon. Now it's coming back.
What
Yeah.
a name. Wow. Not as
Oh,
endearing
wow.
as Bubble Boy from Seinfeld, by the way.
I'm old enough to remember the actual Bubble Boy in the 80s. And then they made a movie off
right,
that,
yeah.
and then they duplicated it in Seinfeld.
Wasn't that with John Travolta? Was John Travolta
yes.
the Bubble Boy?
Yes,
I don't know.
I believe so.
way.
Yeah, look
I
it up.
think so.
I really think,
think
it was
so.
Rabbit holes.
or someone of his life. Yeah, I think is what. Yeah.
That's what we do on this show, Jeff.
That's exactly right.
All right, I'm going to let you guys continue. Hey, the Blue Jays over the Mariners in Game 3 of the ALCS, 13-4 the final. Football tonight, Bengals play host to Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. And it's 51 in Parker, 50 in Arvada, 53 in Denver. Jeff and Vic continue. Billy is somewhere on planet Earth having some fun. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast still might have a light shower into early Thursday. Otherwise, skies mostly cloudy. Temperatures early on will be in the lower 50s. An early morning shower, then sunshine for Thursday. Highs going to be in the middle and upper 60s. Lows low 40s and clear Thursday night. Sunny, mainly dry, pleasant for Friday and into the weekend. Friday and Saturday, highs will be in the mid-60s with lows upper 30s, low 40s. Back in the mid-70s Sunday. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, it's day 15, hour 8, 17th minute, 52nd seconds of this Democrat government shutdown, right? Is that's what it is? The White House saying the Democrats have shut down the government. I tend to agree with them because there's a clean CR out there, and if you want to have a debate over funding for health care, that especially if it's so critical, you can do that and still pay the air traffic controllers. But what's intriguing to me is the lack of attention and kind of pressure that's happening around this issue compared to other government shutdowns. There's been a number of them. I remember when the panda cams turned off in Washington, D.C., when Republicans were fighting with Barack Obama, and it seemed like a really big issue. Turn on the panda cams. Now we're 2 weeks into this. No paychecks for some of these folks. And both sides seem pretty entrenched. Vic, what do you make of all this?
Oh, there's no end in sight, right? I mean, you mentioned it. You know, I don't. But it is. This one is weird, Jeff. You hit it right on the head. There's no pandas, for one, which is too bad because people love pandas, right?
Did we give them back to China? Is that why there's no pandas?
Maybe that's why the tariffs are happening, right? Like it goes back to the pandas and the balloon boy, probably. I think that. This one is different in the sense of how we're consuming it, I think, as Americans and as news consumers. look, if you're impacted by the shutdown, and I want to certainly talk about that, it absolutely impacts you. But I think if you're kind of, you have a regular job with regular health care and it's not tied to the government and you don't go to the National Zoo, right? I could understand why we're in this place with news, Jeff, where we're so numb to things happening out of the ordinary. And it's been that way since President Trump took over, whether you like him or not, right? Like, it is not ordinary to be in a government shutdown. And it's certainly not ordinary to be in a government shutdown for 15 days. Yet, I was just looking at the New York Times, Washington Post, the big guys. You had to scroll down a few just to even get to news about the shutdown. It's like, oh, we're on to the next thing because we're so numb to this bizarre thing that's going on right now. It's very strange. It is very strange.
The longest shutdown was 35 days. That took place in 2018-19 during President Trump's first administration. It's often said that we are now at a point where we're two countries fighting over the same land. Now, we're not in an aggressive war, but it's a bit of a cold war. The countries have, America has split so much so that the differences between the Republicans and Democrats are so stark, you might as well have two different countries. I don't know if I fully buy into that. I definitely think that the division has gotten bigger, but it would lend itself to more government shutdowns if that's the case, because you're arguing over pretty significant differences in how the government should work. And maybe that's why we see more government shutdowns as the country gets older and older and older. What do you think?
I think it's an interesting point, and I know during the show we're going to talk about the Supreme Court issue around race and drawing districts, and then that ultimately leads to the larger issue, which is gerrymandering, where we have these safe seats, right? You're a super liberal, you could hold this seat forever. You're a super conservative, you could hold this seat forever. Well, if that's the case, and the more seats we have like that, then of course we're going to have more shutdowns, because where are the deal makers, right? They can't win a primary, right? So I think when it comes to this shutdown, though, we have to remember that there absolutely are people impacted.
Correct.
And it's not just, I don't understand this hatred. Where does this attitude of just hate toward government workers come from? Like, man, civil servants, they don't get paid as much as they would if they go into the private sector, right? Like, I worked at the Capitol as a Capitol reporter for many years as part of the Capitol Press Corps, and the nonpartisan staff there are tremendous. And you will hear Democrats and Republicans rave about them equally. Like, thank goodness for these folks, right? Because they just dedicate themselves to public service, and we're going to vilify them. I think I'm just getting a little tired of that.
Yeah, so that's a unique point, and we can explore that. So, generally, conservatives don't like the size of the federal government, or any government, right? State, local, those types of things. They want a smaller, reduced government, in part because of the amount of taxes that are going out. It's frustrating to watch here in Colorado. Your property taxes go up, the amount of fees that you're paying to the state all the time. So it feels like there's more and more money constantly going to the government's spending more than it's ever spent before, and I think our services in many ways are worse than they've ever been before. And you're getting a lot of money spent on stuff that's just doesn't seem to work. Like, I did a whole video that's gone viral on RTD, and the fact that it's subsidized to the point of 95% of RTD subsidized. Fares only cover 5% of the actual expenditures of RTD. And Ridgegate, I had somebody drive around Ridgegate and I-25, the big RTD parking lot there that cost $200 million to build, and there was 30 cars in there at 9 a.m. on a Thursday. So it feels like government is just wasteful, wildly wasteful. Now, we're not talking about air traffic controllers, we're not talking about nonpartisan staff, but government itself is frustrating. So you elect Donald Trump, you get Elon Musk, Doge, that whole effort, and throughout every step they tried to take, Democrats were seeking to stop it. And lawsuits took place and injunctions took place. And I remember going down and interviewing people at some of these protests, and they're like, we don't want Donald Trump to fire federal workers. And I was like, well, who gets to then? It seems like we have this big blob of the federal government, and the guy that should be duly elected to be able to shape the federal government according to the will of the people can't do it. Can't fire the people he wants to fire. And I kept pressing the folks at the rally, well, what kind of system do you want to where somebody gets a job with the federal government and it's just kind of endless? I talked to a friend of mine who works in the Department of Treasury, and he was talking about the challenges they're facing where you have a number of employees within the IRS and the Department of Treasury that essentially lied on their resumes, said that they were coders and engineers, and because there was no mechanism to actually test it, they got jobs and were never actually coders or engineers. So I think the bloat feeds into a lot of this, the frustration that Donald Trump couldn't make changes to the federal government that he wanted to. And then you just get conservatives that naturally want, like Grover Norquist said, to shrink the government to the size that he can drown it in a bathtub. So now the government's shut down. There's money that's not going to them. And I think a lot of conservatives just kind of shrug and go, well, I feel sorry for some of the people that can't get paid, but, this is a big bloated system to begin with.
Jeff,
long run.
What's going to happen when military families don't get that paycheck? Now, Trump has said,
correct,
we found some money, we're going to do, okay, for one pay period. Yeah. What happens when these military families stop getting paid, right? Yeah. And even if you think that, by the way, that is a reasonable argument around government waste and bloated government, right? I think if you talk to the left or the right, no one loves the government. Let's just be honest there. Some people may like more spending than others.
Brother, I watched Mondami's interview on Fox. I'm like, that guy really loves the government.
But, I think it's also really important to look, the military families won't have paychecks. Kids going hungry, that's a real thing. And, I think that it's not surprising that maybe folks from Cherry Creek aren't noticing the shutdown. But, these people sure are. And let's talk about the line the Democrats have drawn in the sand. It's around the ACA premiums, right? Look, man, these are folks who they're business owners. They are chiropractors. They're dentists. They're farmers and ranchers who rely on these subsidies who couldn't otherwise afford them or get them, right? I'm one of them, right? I run a nonprofit. I am my only employee, right? I can't afford some fancy private insurance, but I have to go through Obamacare. And thank goodness, when those subsidies go away, people's bills, healthcare bills, are going to go up hundreds of dollars. And then they're going to have to make decisions around that, Jeff. Like, do I pay for my insulin and whatever other health issues I'm dealing with, or do I pay for my rent? Those are real for people, and I think that's what gets lost in this political tug of war. Where it's like who wins or loses, and then the stupid media talks about it as wins and losses when the truth is everyone loses in this dang thing.
I guess I just don't. This is where it seems to be a weakness in the Democrats' argument, from my perspective, is like, if this healthcare subsidies issue is so critical, like really important, then it could be a standalone debate. It doesn't have to be tied directly to the reopening of the government.
That's the only leverage they have. I mean, if there's a standalone debate in a conservative Congress, it's never going to get up.
Everyone's premiums are going to go up, and you're going to have this crisis, and and they're going to lose elections as a result of it. So that's where I go past the clean CR, so the military families can get their paychecks. I mean, 80% of the EPA is non-essential. 80% of the EPA is non-essential. That's where conservatives look at that and are like, okay, well, I guess we don't really need it.
We've all run into government fees and government programs that are just obnoxious. And I think that's something we can all relate to. And I think there is absolute room to talk about that. But I think on this particular issue, Jeff, I have my issues with Democrats. I am not a Democrat. I am an independent, a proud independent, right? I may lean left in some issues. I may lean right in some issues, but I have an independent streak.
I'd love to know what you lean right on.
Well, we could talk about it. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised, and it may come up during this conversation. But I think that Democrats have better ground to stand on in this year's debate, and it's around health care because that's a real issue that impacts so many people. They lost that debate last time when they were talking about Dreamers, right? Democrats just don't know that immigration is such a losing issue for them. It's like you just want to slap them and say, it's a losing issue for you, right? But this is a real issue that has real consequences. And by the way, the overwhelming majority of Obamacare recipients live in red areas, right? So the very folks in Congress who are refusing to give in to Democratic demands are going to hear it from their own red state voters.
That's Vic Vela, 5-time Edward R. Murrow Award winner, live in studio. We got the text messages going. Feel free to join the conversation by giving us a call at 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Kaplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk Gyrie's, folks. My wife and I went into Gyrie's location in Parker recently. Let me tell you, it was an absolutely fantastic experience. We sat down with their professional designer, and they showed us an incredible selection of Hunter Douglas custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Look, I was a little overwhelmed at first. I am not a design pro, but the designer, the personal designer was. She walked us through everything, helped us find the perfect options to enhance the look and functionality of our home. We got curtains that go up and down with remote controls now. It's awesome. So whether your curtains are clashing or you just want a fresh look, Gyrie's has the solutions for you. Their designers are experts, and they can help you with everything from window treatments to full room decor. Here's the best part. They offer a personalized in-home consultation. They'll come directly to you, so you can get the same expert advice right in your own home. They bring samples out. They do laser measurements. It's an absolutely fantastic experience. Do yourself a favor. Get started today. Visit Gyrie's.com to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com. GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Gyrie's. You'll be sure to thank me. And we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Wake up, Denver. There's no better place to start your morning than IHOP, where the pancakes are fluffy, the coffee is hot, and the smiles are endless. Wednesday, October 22nd, join Jeff and Bill as they broadcast their show live from IHOP at 9565 South University Boulevard in Highlands Ranch. You're officially invited to be part of the excitement. Come grab your favorite breakfast and watch the Jeff and Bill Show in action from 6 to 10 a.m. Don't forget to try the special Jeff and Bill breakfast. Pancakes, any style eggs, and crispy bacon, all for just $7.10. It's a deal as good as their hot takes. All they need is you. Bring your appetite, bring your friends, and kick off your day with great food and great conversation. See you Wednesday, October 22nd at IHOP.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill's out this week. Today, co-hosting with me is Vic Vela. You may have heard those sultry tones on Colorado Public Radio for a bit, and now running his own nonprofit, doing the podcast. Good to have you with us this morning.
Thanks, Jeff. It's always good to be with you, man. Yeah.
Is it fun to be back on the radio?
I mean,
you do the podcast, but that's like a weekly thing?
It's different. Yeah. Podcast, you pick it up whenever you have time, right? You listen at your convenience. Radio, you're live in it, man.
Right.
I love being live because I hate editing. I hate editing.
We definitely don't edit this thing. This is a rodeo. Just jump on the back of the bull.
Right.
Text message is hot this morning as we're talking the government shutdown as it enters its 15th plus day. 15 days, 8 hours, 37 minutes, 15, 16, 17 seconds. The White House has its own government shutdown clock, if you want to go get the exact moment that the government's been shut down. 3674, all my life, half my federal tax return goes to Colorado. Has anyone ever gotten a return from Denver? Mary from Wyoming texting in, federal government workers are not impartial. It's become a socialist institution. I worked there for 8 years. I do think that that's part of the calculation. It may not be all of it, but I think conservatives look at Washington, D.C. that I think went 95% for Kamala Harris, or maybe 90% for Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Something wild like that, and goes, the government's just made up of libs. So, yeah, not all of them, not the military, not the ICE, not the air traffic controllers, but a lot of them in D.C., like EPA guys, IRS, maybe others working, not super critical to my life, I'm sorry. But that's might be some of the thoughts. What's your perspective on that?
I understand that. Look, I get it. I mean, anyone who has ever had to deal with dealing with the federal government at any level is not fun. It is not a task that anyone enjoys. You're dealing with Medicare. You're dealing with Social Security. You're dealing with state government. And hey, who likes going to the DMV, right? But you know what? Thank goodness for these folks who actually have those jobs, because otherwise we'd be up the creek, right? And I think that's the problem when we talk about this stuff. It's perfectly okay. Look, I absolutely think that the government is too big, and it should be smaller. But what we're losing sight of in this conversation, Jeff, as I kind of mentioned in the previous segment, is that there are real world consequences, right? There's people who fight wildfires who are going to be working without paychecks, right? That's a real thing. And by the way, if you don't think wildfires can happen in the fall, yeah.
Or December, that one up in Boulder was a December one.
The Boulder one was just before New Year's Eve.
Right.
It was unbelievable.
I had totally forgotten what time of year that was.
It's amazing,
right?
Right?
You don't see it.
It's so these things, and if there's also indirect consequences, right? So like, air traffic controllers, right. They are necessary workers, and so they are working, but they were dealing with issues before the shutdown, and they were dealing with short staffing before the shutdown. What happens when a few of them get sick over the next month, which is going to happen because it's going to be November? Flight delays will only worsen as this thing happens, and if that thing directly impacts every one of us. So
that seems to be the pressure point in my mind that could finally get people to the table. How do you think this thing plays itself out?
Well, it happened last time. Yeah. The one thing you don't want to mess with is people's flights, man. Oh, man. The airport is when there's flight issues, you see tempers, and people get angry. Like, they already hate the airlines. Right, everyone hates the airlines.
Have you been tracking what happened to Southwest?
Which one? Which
event?
Is the question?
How it got taken over by the hedge fund? So this is a wild story. Southwest was owned by a single family, essentially, or had majority control by a single family. And then, do you remember the computer outage that resulted in delays around Christmas for everybody? It affected us. We were trying to get to Arizona, and it lasted for like a week because all the planes were in wrong areas and they couldn't get people. And it was this cascading, massive problem. Well, the stock dropped to the point where a hedge fund could get control of a good chunk of it, not majority control, but at least like a few board seats, I think. And then they started to put a tremendous amount of pressure on the rest that had majority control of Southwest, to the point where it's basically run like Frontier is now. They're going to milk it's a hedge fund. They're going to milk every last little penny out of this thing and then discard it.
Well, we saw they're charging for seats now.
Now it's seats and bags and all that stuff.
You know,
it's sad.
It's really sad, right? Which begs the question, then shouldn't we then have government overseeing this stuff so that way, you know, they aren't trying to screw us? Come on, Jeff. Like, I guess
it's the natural result of a free market. The last thing I want to do, though, is hand it over to the power of the government. But here's a good question I want to throw your way.
Sure.
You mentioned the importance of Obamacare. This is 9310. If government has to subsidize health insurance, then it's not affordable. It proves the ultimate failure of Obamacare because it didn't make it affordable. What's your response?
Well, I mean, Obamacare made it possible for people like me with pre-existing conditions to be able to get health insurance when you switch jobs and things like that. You know how bad it was before? People forget about the time before the Affordable Care Act, when insurance companies can look at you and say, you have diabetes? Sorry. You have cancer? Sorry, right? Pre-existing conditions, that was huge. And being able to have your kids on your health plan until the age of 26 is a big deal, Jeff. That's a big deal, right? Now, look, I think that a lot of this, are there issues with the ACA? Yeah. It's a government program. There are issues. And by the way, it never was what Obama had envisioned it to be. Even with a super majority in Congress, he couldn't get through. You know, I think a lot of people wanted that, a larger kind of one-payer system. Whether you agree with that or not, that's a whole other story. But I think that a lot of the issues that conservatives have with Obamacare, let's just face it, they don't like Obama, man. I mean, forget about the fact that this is a popular piece of legislation. It was highly unpopular when it became law. It was horribly unpopular to the point where Democrats lost seats because of it, and Obama was hurt politically because of it. It took a long time for Americans to wrap their heads around the ACA, but now that they do, every single poll you look at, it's a very popular program.
All right, here's my response.
Sure.
Vic, there's not a single thing in all of history that the government got involved with that got cheaper. And
Medicare?
No, it's not gotten cheaper. I mean, we're having to spend more and more money on it every budget
sure,
cycle.
The government spends money on it, but what about the people it helps, right? I mean, who are we trying to help? If all we look at is government spending, then we're always going to say, I don't want it because I'm tired of all this spending. But when seniors finally are able to have health insurance, right, and it saves them from literally dying, I think Medicare was a net win for America. Like,
I disagree. So, look, the things that are, and I want to say healthcare is not essential. Healthcare is absolutely essential, but so are other things in our lives that the technology has gotten better. It has gotten cheaper. For instance, cell phones, right? Mm-hmm. Think about how absolutely critical a cell phone is to our lives. In fact, you could make the argument that having a cell phone is a human right, the way progressives make the argument that healthcare is a human right, which is not. But we have things in our lives that are absolutely critical that the government is not involved with. And when you have the power of the free market, it tends to get cheaper, better. When you go back to the early cell phones where you're paying like $1,000 for those car phones and they were big bricks and couldn't do anything and hardly make a phone call, think about the technological advancement. And then whether it's healthcare or education or any of the other programs that we've built, the government gets involved. And I was listening to Mondami's interview on Fox yesterday. He's wants free buses for people. He wants grocery stores for people. It will never be operationally successful. It will not operate well. It will be more expensive. We can't solve anything, whether it's poverty. Our education is worse in many ways than it's ever been before. Healthcare is more expensive and more frustrating than it's ever been before. So I just don't see involving the government with it, subsidizing it, as the right way to go. And we end up in this like vicious cycle where it's always now going to get worse in its service and more expensive.
What do we do with the 24 million people who get insurance through Obamacare? 24 million people, the vast majority of them are going to see their premiums go up hundreds of dollars. They're either self-employed or their work doesn't offer private insurance. They don't qualify for Medicaid because they work and make too much money. Jeff, what do we do? That's going to create catastrophic conditions.
Fair critique. I don't think it's catastrophic, though. I really don't. I mean, it's not the only insurance out there. Look, you can't turn on Sunday football without having 8 insurance companies advertise to you. So in other aspects with regards to critical insurance, whether it's homeowner or car or life, there's plenty of options out there. I just don't think we're ever going to get out of this now. We've literally tied our health insurance, which is critical, to a bunch of nitwits in Washington, D.C. They're going to debate over it.
Because it was doing so much better through the insurance companies. No, it wasn't. It wasn't, Jeff. These, I mean, when you let insurance companies have free reign over this industry, I mean, they're going to do everything to line their own pockets. They're going to serve their own interests. Now, we can have reasonable discussions on government. I'm always happy to have that, right? Like, look at education. I think that's a good example where government intervention drives me crazy, right? Standardized testing in schools. My gosh, you're going to put a test in front of a kid and that you're telling him that's going to be his worth, right?
You don't like standardized testing? That's hilarious. I'm like, how else are we going to measure these kids? Because you'd have some inner city and rural schools
so
that
that's the one government
don't
thing
care
that you
about their
like?
kids at all. Well, I also really believe in prohibition, but that's another debate.
Oh, okay,
so.
Sure. Well, look, and I think that, these debates are hard, and they should be hard.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with really hard issues. And I think how we solve them is, A, by having conversations like this, where people aren't yelling at each other and demonizing each other.
That comes in the 7 o'clock hour.
Yeah, stay tuned.
The chairs come out.
That's right. But it's hard out there, man. And I got to tell you, I don't know look, for those who don't know, I run my own nonprofit. I'm in recovery from addiction. I was a heavy drug user for many years. I've been in recovery for more than 10 years now. And I try to give back through my nonprofit, the Back from Broken Foundation, which helps people who are struggling with addiction, right? I think that's a good thing, okay? I'm not saying I'm Jesus Christ. No. I'm just saying it's a good thing.
I agree.
Right? It's a positive to have in the world.
100%.
I cannot afford private and health insurance on my own. I am my only employee. I work for a nonprofit. The only way I'm able to afford health insurance through the marketplace is through the Obamacare subsidies. If those go away, I am screwed. And I think that's what gets lost in this conversation. We think that it's about other people. No, it's about our neighbors.
100%. Yeah. I agree with you on that. I think the whole system has flaws. So I look at the government the government funding that has to go into it. I look at the fact that you almost have to have your health care tied to an employer otherwise, which I don't like that system. Mm-hmm. My employer's not tied to any other insurance that I own in my life. I don't like how hard it is to figure out the cost of anything associated.
Those are great points.
And then I feel like these healthcare companies are making a ton of money. Meanwhile, nobody knows how much a procedure actually costs. It's tied to all these other systems that we have no control over. It feels like the freedom and the options in a free market system with regards to health insurance are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I don't like that either. So, anyways, we're going to continue. We're up against a break. Vic Vela live in studio. Conversation's fantastic. Text messages coming in 720-819-5115. Feel free to give us a call and join the conversation as well at 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, Denver's News Talk leader, 710 KNUS. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill's out this week. I'm having a ton of fun with co-hosts Ted Trimpa on Monday, Deep Singh Badesha on Tuesday. Wednesday was Patricia Calhoun. Today's Vic Vela. Tomorrow's CityCast is going to be joining us. Have you tuned into CityCast? Have you ever listened to those guys?
Oh, sure,
yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing some unique stuff. Mm-hmm. So you and I were just talking off air about how everything is changing right now. Colorado Public Radio is trying to figure out what they're going to be doing. Terrestrial radio is trying to figure it out. Broadcast television. I think we have this kind of unique little sticking power, and I think CPR does too, because people still drive to work and listen to radio. But like broadcast news, local broadcast news, I tuned in to watch that for the first time in like 9 months, maybe a year. The other day, watched Channel 4 for an entire program. Mm-hmm. But that's got to be changing too, just because everyone's consuming. Did you see Fox has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in what they're calling vertical content? So 60-second soap operas, for instance, on your phone. Like, people aren't even sitting down to watch big screen television, maybe for sports, but everything is going Instagram Reels, TikTok, all that stuff.
60-second soap operas.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough of a soap opera for me. I need
not enough drama.
I need constant drama in my life, Jeff. If you just ask anyone I've ever dated, that's just not enough drama.
Vic Vela's live in studio. We're going to have a lot of fun. Feel free to join the conversation. Give us a call. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.